Hello everyone, my name is Cameron Deacon and welcome to something brand new here at Huddersfield Giants. We've started a podcast because there's not enough podcasts already in the world. On this podcast we'll be talking to various guests including players, coaches, background staff, ex-players, ex-coaches, whoever we can grab really. And we'll be covering all news related to Giants and from across the whole of rugby league. Today on the very first Giant podcast we have the voice of the Giants match day, whether you like it or not, you will be hearing him before every single game, and he does some stuff behind the scenes as well. It's Mr. Tim Burton. And
good morning, and welcome to the John Smith Stadium.
And also, on the opposite side to him, we have a real giant. He's actually genuinely huge. It's a Giant and Rugby League legend, over 430 appearances for club and country, over an astonishing 18-year career at Huddersfield Giants, Hall of Famer, League Leaders Shield winner and Super League Dream Team member, Mr. Eorl Crabtree.
Thank you. I'll tell you what, my intro is a lot better than yours.
Yeah, I was going to say, yours is miles better than mine, but maybe that's linked to your achievements.
You're here, aren't you? You love it.
How many games do we play a season at home? 15, 16, I must have done, and I've been here 5 years, so quick maths, what's that? How many games is that I've done? 80.
A lot of people slowly getting more and more annoyed having to hear you.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But I must
not
say,
him again.
I've always wanted to meet the person who does that before the games.
Did you know it was? Yeah, you didn't know it was me, did you?
I didn't know it was you. No.
You turned up. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
But I always just assume they have a massive ego about themselves, but it doesn't really come across much.
Oh, thanks, Cameron. That's really nice. Do you know what? That's the nicest thing anybody ever said about me, actually.
Do you find yourself actually speaking like that when you go out and stuff like that?
But sometimes I do get fans coming up to me going, go on, do it. So I'll find myself in a bar going, welcome to the John Smith Stadium.
It's sad, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it is a bit. Yeah.
That isn't the only thing you do. You've started other ventures as well here.
Yes, I'm also the operations manager for the club, which I'm roughly about 3 months into now, and enjoying every minute of it. Trying to improve our great club along with the likes of Eorl Crabtree. In our endeavours to ensure that the match day experience is as good as it can be, and trying to promote us around the town, I suppose. So
and Earl yourself, you've not left completely, have you yet? You're still very much involved.
Completely. I'm here more than I've ever been in my life. I can't get away from the place. I've obviously retired just over 2 years ago and gone into the back room basically with all the commercial staff, which I'm hidden away in a little dungeon, which I'm not used to.
Full of biscuits, by the way.
Yeah,
that dungeon is full of biscuits.
As an ex-professional, you shouldn't condone these sort of things, but I actually have my own jar on the table that's just full of sweets, which is...
I must admit, we've mentioned that the workings inside the stadium is very much a maze, and to find you in your part, you have to really go into the dregs of it, and you're like the Minotaur at the end of the
That's exactly how I want it. Minotaur.
That's a great analogy. I'm going to start calling you the Minotaur from now on.
Please don't. But that's exactly how I want it. I'm hidden away. Nobody can find me. I can't get in trouble. It's all right. Especially when MD's walking around and stuff like that. I don't have to worry about anything. I'm hidden away in my own little corner. It's fantastic. But I'm enjoying it. I'm loving what I'm doing. It started off as a bit of a strange role in the transition from being a player to a position where I've just been given a notebook and a laptop and basically crack on. And I was a bit lost for a while, but it's taken a little bit of time. But over the last 2 years, I've sort of developed. I think I've learned a lot from some good people around me, and Tim's also here as well. And but it's been good, and now I look after a lot of our sponsors. I'm bringing in my own sponsors, and there's a couple of shirt partners and sock sponsors and things like that. It's fantastic, and getting to learn a little bit more about business, which for me is a big change. Instead of pulling on your boots and running onto a field, I'm in the office having coffees, and I'll be honest, I spend a lot of time in Costa. It's like my dream job, really.
I was going to say, actually, scrolling through your Instagram the other day, what's this number 8 gin you've got going now? It's looks interesting. I'm a big fan of gin myself, but
that's what I like to hear. Well, it's actually a collaboration between myself and Divine Gin, who are a sponsor of the Huddersfield Giants, and the local based company in Home Firth, New Mill, which is down the road from me. We became really good friends over the last couple of years, and I've always been passionate about gin. I really enjoy it, and I started like everybody else, started on Gordon's, and that's where it started off. But obviously before then I were on 2020, down in Centre Village in Melbourne. Well, but now I went on to gin and started enjoying that. When it was probably socially unacceptable, almost, that lads were drinking gin. Yeah. But then stepped up a little bit, went on to Bombay, and then really experimented by having cucumber in Hendrix, which became a bit of a everyone. I don't know, people judge that sort of thing, but I was really quite enjoying it. But then I got to know Ray Woolhead from Divine, who has his own distillery, makes his own gin, and we got talking. We've done a couple of gin festivals together and thought, well, what a crazy idea if we just have my own gin. A lot of symmetry, which is based around what he has. So he has 36 recipes for his London dry gin, and the one he chose was number 8.
Very appropriate.
Exactly. The number I played for many, many years.
I was going to say, it would be a bit sort of annoying to go from assuming that it was something to do with the rugby, but then because no, it's just the 8th one on the list. It's just literally the 8th.
No, we tried a lot more than that. It's mine is a London dry, but it's a sweet citrusy flavour, which is one of the botanicals is blood orange, but we try to put a bit more orange in there, so it's a nice flavour. It's going really well, actually. We're in a lot of bars.
Can you educate me a bit about the gin situation? Because I always feel at the minute, right now, when I've seen you drinking gin, you drink gin and you drink tonic in it, don't you? But what I see a lot of people is like putting so much stuff in with gin that it probably doesn't even taste like gin anymore. So, I mean,
it's more full of plants than it is actual gin.
Exactly. It's more full of plants and different flavoured tonics that it, that's, I don't know. Yeah, so maybe I need educating. Gin situation.
All the London dry gins are basically the botanicals are in that before it's distilled. So it's been redistilled. The botanicals are already in it as it's distilled. It goes through this big still, drops out the other side, and that's where you get your flavour from. Right. Your flavoured gins are added after. Right. So that's what a London dry gin just basically means. While it was being made, it had the botanicals already in there. Right. Anything else like your rhubarb gins and things like that, that's all added after. So that's why it's a London dry, which is what mine is. So you'll have
yours is a traditional proper gin.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a man's gin.
I won't go that way.
Is any gin a man's gin, really?
Really manly. That's what everyone says about
unless you're drinking out of a pint glass.
If you drink it by the pint.
Like a big tanker like that. So with them, they all taste different. Which is not what people understand. I think a lot of people get confused and think they're all just the same. They're not. They all taste slightly different. They all have these different botanicals, which makes them unique. Yeah. The best way to taste them is with a slimline tonic, because it has less flavour than a normal tonic. And then you may add a little bit of fruit just for a bit of garnish. But a lot of people now go with the Mediterranean tonics, elderflowers and stuff like that. Yeah. They totally take over the taste.
That's what I'm saying,
But they are really nice. They're really enjoyable. But I prefer to have just a normal tonic, so you can actually taste the flavour of the actual botanicals, which are in the London dry. I know what I'm talking about. It's quite clear.
Not just a pretty face.
It's not just that either. Can't believe you just said that about it.
I mean, you're not far away from me. You are. I don't think I can reach you too much from here.
You did mention how long you've been here, and it's been such a transition between playing and going on to what you're doing now. And you spent nearly 20 years at the club. Majority of your whole life here. It's going to be. It must be weird to think of the future and potentially moving on from that, but.
I'm trying not to. Until you brought it up, I was actually quite alright.
Does he know something you've done?
For a second, who you been speaking to?
No, but it's more like,
Mary, come here, be hammered by you. I've been here 20 years.
But that's what I mean, though. It's like you haven't
even been here 20 minutes, have you?
Right, let's cancel this. It's not working for me. No, I funnily enough, I actually did work experience here when I was 15 years old.
Did you?
And at the Giants.
Yeah.
And that's sort
You
of my
didn't make a
first
podcast as well, did you?
No, I don't think they were around at that point. I think it was still Walkmans and stuff.
Were you in the academy at that point then?
I didn't play for the academy at that point. I was still at school,
Yeah.
and I went to train with the academy off the back of being here.
Ah, right.
And that's when I met
Smart
Brian
move.
Blacker. Yeah, it kind of worked well for the Giants. So I started training with them, and I weren't allowed to play with the academy because I was only 15. I had to be 16 years old.
Yeah.
So I trained with them for a while with Blacker and Paul Dixon, and eventually turned 16 and started playing with the academy team. And that's where it sort of all began for me. But I was working, ironically, with Chris Roberts. Doing work experience, Chris Roberts at 15 in the Huddersfield Giants. And later on, obviously, I'd spend a lot of time with both of those. Obviously, with me having a career with the Giants, and also the Examiner, I've always had a great relationship with.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed it. And now I'm 36. I'm 37 in October. I actually signed my first professional contract on my 17th birthday.
Oh, wow.
So that's when I signed on the dotted line for the Giants.
Isn't it funny how time hasn't really moved on, because I suppose you went into the academy where your boss was Brian Blacker and now your boss is Brian Blacker.
But he's not my boss. If anything, I'm in charge now. I only have one boss and she's at home.
But another thing on that is how you mentioned the transition. You go from being in sort of the back room, sort of with the players, and you've got that sort of banter. How do you move on from that, or are you still much involved with the players as they are now? Or
No, I made a conscious decision when I retired not to get caught up in the past. I'm very, very motivated. I'm ambitious, and I do believe in looking towards the future, and that's what I've tried to do. I've got a lot of projects that I'm doing at the moment, and a few more business bits as well. So I'm not trying to be relying purely on rugby league as sort of getting me through the rest of my life. I've got to look towards other things. I've got a great opportunity retiring at 35. I've got another 30 years and more of work. So I'm starting all over again, but that is, you can take that as a positive or a negative. I choose to take it as a positive. So I don't see the lads as much as I used to do. I don't have that banter with them quite as much as I used to do, but I do get down there a few times a week and see the lads. I love being around it. But I've had to almost just change my mentality and what I'm doing, and look towards doing other things and meeting new people, networking and expanding my horizons, because when you're a rugby player in a little bubble and it's just you and the lads, and that is what you've got to be like as well, I think, as a player. But as soon as you leave that, you've got to expand and get out there and meet new people and learn, I think. And I think I'm doing that, so I'm enjoying it.
You have stayed in rugby league though. You're glad that you've stayed in rugby league, because a lot of the lads, I mean, it was probably always written in the stars that you were going to stay in rugby league. You've got a unique look about you. You played for Huddersfield all your career. You're Mr. Huddersfield Giants, aren't you? In a way. So I mean, that you were probably always going to do that. But are you glad that you had that opportunity? Because a lot of the lads that retire, they'll have to go on and although you have learned a completely new career, they'll have to go and learn a completely different field, don't they? I mean, would you have been happy going into a different field, I suppose?
I had opportunities to go and work for other companies, and I didn't want to. I wanted to work for the Huddersfield Giants because it's sort of in my blood. It's something I've always done, and something I always want to do. But at the same time, I'm not shy about going somewhere else and working. I think there's more to life than just playing rugby league or just being in rugby league. I'll always be passionate about it, and I'll have a part in rugby league forever. I always will do. But I kind of want to do other things as well. I want to challenge myself and see new things and see new places and learn new bits as well. I've also seen players struggle, and I'm in a big WhatsApp group basically with a load of retired lads, and sometimes some of the messages on there are quite scary, because there's some lads struggling and they don't know what to do with themselves, they don't know what to do with their lives, and they do struggle with that transition, struggle with depression, and basically getting through day-to-day life. I don't want to be one of those, and although I do respect them and hope they're okay, and I'll always be there for them as well, I don't want to fall into that category. I'm too switched on, I think, like that. I come from a different era, though. I was at the back end of the old school era. I've seen it all. I've seen the game change as well. Some of the lads that struggle are probably a little bit older, and they have nothing else. I think now the game gives them so many opportunities and so many options to actually get out there and live the best lives they can do, because there's so much in place for them these days. They
probably don't have a support network out now for ex-players than there was maybe 10, 15 years.
Yeah, ex-players, but also current players. I think now the support mechanism for current players is better than it's ever been. So, when people say there's nothing out there for players, there is. They're well supported, they're well looked after, but they've got to look for it as well. They can't just sit back and do nothing and then get to the end of their careers and go, oh, can't believe it, I don't know what to do now.
Yeah.
There's so many chances for players these days, free education and things like that. They're very, very lucky, and I don't feel any sympathy for players that don't go out there and actually do something for themselves. Sometimes they're too lazy. They just expect it to be done, handed on a plate. Life isn't like that.
A lot of players go into sort of the backroom staff after they retire. Did you never consider a life in coaching or anything like that?
Not in the slightest. Can't stand coaches. I genuinely can't. They're a weird breed. I've had some really good coaches, fantastic coaches, and I've had some that I can't stand. And the way they treat people. Maybe off there. And I respect them for coaches and who they are and stuff like that and what they've done in the game. But it's not for me. It's just not my it's not my cup of tea, as it were. But at the same time, I feel like I could literally fall back into coaching tomorrow, because I've been around the game that long, and I know the game inside out. I know it does change and it adapts, but I want to do something else. I want to give myself a shot at doing something totally different. I'd like to be respected for not just being a rugby player, actually outside of that as well.
I must say I did witness your coaching skills firsthand when you were coaching David Harper from Antiques Road Trip here at the stadium the other day. We were filming an episode of Antiques Road Trip. They come down, obviously it's going to be aired later on in the year, but they came as obviously Huddersfield massive in rugby league history, so they came to do a feature on not just the Giants, but rugby league in Huddersfield and the history of rugby league. And he was coaching a presenter called David Harper, put him through his paces. Saw the improvement. Keith Senior, and I saw the improvement instantly. To be honest, he ran round him. Ran rings round Earl.
He actually did. It was quite quick, to be fair, but my competitive edge still comes out like that, because I've got a pad and I've got to look after him because it's all for TV.
You didn't plough through him.
Back of my mind,
he absolutely smashed him. Honestly, broke his glasses. This bloke, Dave, I hope if he listens to this, I hope he doesn't mind me saying so, but he's about the same sort of height as me. He's about 5'7.5".
You wish.
I'm 5'7.5", Phil. Just because you're 7.
You're struggling when you say and a half.
All right. Listen, that half inch is important. You ask anybody, half inch is always important.
I'll take half inch. New low already. Well done.
We're really falling out. It's only the first one. It's fine. But no, moving on quickly before someone gets hit. You, like you said, you called him Mr. Rugby League or Mr. Huddersfield. It's you've got last player to get inducted into the Hall of Fame, first player in the modern Super League era to have done that. Is that weird for you to walk around the stadium and have your face plastered to every single wall and next to all these Huddersfield Giant greats?
No, I've got used to my face being plastered around. That's always happened. It's happened for a long time. It's not a pretty face. It's my nose is a bit straighter these days than it was. But to be there in the Hall of Fame is pretty special. That's pretty cool. There's not much that throughout my career that's really got to me. I'm quite humble. I don't really talk about successes and stuff like that. I'm not motivated by trophies, as in the sense that I don't lose sleep at night because I didn't win what I wanted to win. I wanted to do well for Huddersfield Giants. I wanted to help take us to another level and go on and win a big trophy. It never happened, unfortunately. I managed to get to the top and play in 2 Challenge Cup finals, but never won that trophy that I really craved. But I still sleep really well at night. It makes no difference to me. But that that's pretty big.
Yeah.
To see my face up there, and that's something nobody can ever take away from me. I'm in the Hall of Fame, and it's nice to be up there with those big names, those players with such a rich history. I feel like I'm a part of history now, and that is probably means more to me than anything else.
And do you, we've got quite a few players at the moment who, like yourself, have only been at Huddersfield. Huddersfield born, the hashtag that goes around a lot. It's can you see anybody else in this current squad who could fit themselves into that, next on the wall sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely. And there's a few players, and some players that probably don't get as much recognition as what they deserve. The people like Michael Lawrence, especially, who's just been such a big player for us for the last 10 and beyond years, and I've seen him come through, and he puts his body on the line week in, week out. He has no desire to go anywhere else. He's Huddersfield through and through. And then obviously Jermaine McGilvray, who's
obviously
world class. Has been world class, and hopefully he'll see out the remainder of his career as well. And the nice thing for me will be is if I'm joined by a couple of these players, and I'm sure there's a few more as well over the years. I hope it's not left as long before the next player gets inducted. I don't think it will be, but it'd be nice to be inducted, for me to be the first one, and then have my mates join me. I think that'd be pretty special as well.
Absolutely.
What a guy Michael Lawrence is, obviously Michael picked up a ban at the weekend and he misses the next game, but I didn't realise, but that's his second ban in his career. Which for a fall, how many bans did you get, Earl?
I think he might have had two.
Yeah.
One
match.
I don't know. I found that fairly surprising for a forward, to pick up two.
Especially how scrutinous it is nowadays for that sort of thing. And
I nearly got banned for raising my knee in the tackle, and it's when Louis McCarthy Scarsbrook actually he shot out the line, tried to put a shot on me, and knocked himself out. And then I got called in the next week, and they said, "Oh yeah, you've raised your knee, and I think that's why he's gone down." Injured, like knocked out. Like, well, that's a bizarre thing to say. I mean, I'm tall, but I shouldn't have a knee straight in the face. It sounds like the most ridiculous things. Anyway, I had to go there. And
to be fair, all you have to do is lift your foot off the ground.
Stand on you.
That's half inch though. It takes the knee away.
That's it. Half inch. So I went to it, and it's like proper like court. It's really strange. It's quite intimidating actually. You walk in there and they go through their evidence, and you basically got to give your evidence. But it was the most ridiculous thing in the world, and I found myself stood there actually explaining what had happened technically, because he's come across me, he's put his head to the wrong side, hit my shoulder, and he's knocked himself out. My knee's slightly raised going into the tackle, but like I say, I'm 6'6". That's what I'm. 6'6.5".
Good one, mate. That's important. It's not to you.
And anyway, my knee was raised because that's my running style. As I run into the tackle, my knees naturally go up because when you run, your legs lift. And anyway, they ended up just not. I got no fine, I got no ban, I just wasted my time. And it was quite nice that I went out of there and I didn't actually get a ban. The only one I did get a ban one was accidentally. I think I tripped like Martin Gleeson up or something, accidentally on purpose on his head.
Accidentally on purpose in inverted commas.
Yeah, on his head, as you do. And then there was another one where I got it was a crusher tackle when they started coming in, which was ridiculous, on Liam Farrell, and I think they're the only two bans I've ever had. In fact, I think I only had to take an early guilty plea for one of them as well. So
can you remember who was on the review panel when you went in?
No, I can't actually.
Because don't they have sort of ex-players on? And
and some people that talk absolute nonsense really don't have a clue what's going on. You're like, no, that's not actually how that works in rugby. That's not what people do. They want me to explain it, and you find yourself trying to explain it, and then you've got someone like Paul Anderson defending you. That's the worst thing you can ever do. People go in there and they could get one game, they come out with like 8. Because he's been defending them. That's what happens sometimes. Coaches get carried away and start
passionate.
Passionate's the word we'll use. And they actually pick up more bands than they need to. I was like, we'll give him more because he's an absolute tool. But it's a weird process actually. It's quite funny, but it is quite daunting as well.
Talking about coaches, we should have mentioned it early on in the conversation, but David Fern has been sacked.
Yeah. I was going to come on to that later on.
I'm absolutely shocked by that. 14
I don't think
games
they've given him enough time personally, but
I don't think they've given him enough good players.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe the team's just not nowhere near good enough, and maybe they're looking back in the past and all those legends that's left the team. I think they've got to start realising they've left, they've gone. They're nowhere near as good as what they used to be.
They had the players coming through like the likes of Danny Maguire, Jamie Jones-Beek, kind of still there, but Danny Maguire, Kevin Sinfield, Kevin Peake,
Jamie Peacock, Kylie Luluai, and we got like obviously Q Senior in the past. You know, these players they were huge players. For me, the game's totally changing anyway, and we don't see those players anymore.
It's really interesting actually on his sacking. It's the mixture of sort of feelings between Leeds fans especially on social media is massive. Some of them are sort of like, thank God he's gone, you know, he was the reason that we're doing as badly as we are, and the other half is like, oh, I should have given him more time. It's really mixed at the moment.
Well, I mean, the thing is that, you know, you've got the structure in place there where you've got Kevin Sinfield who's the director of rugby, so presumably, you know, Kevin makes the signings in consultation with the coach, so it does the blame.
He's got to have responsibility on him as well. It's just the way this is the nature of the beast, and if you're in that position, then you've got to take some sort of responsibility. You've got this coach in, you're getting these players, and you're underperforming, so he has to have part of the blame. It's just the way it is. But also, I'm always very wary of jumping to conclusions with stuff like this. It's just thrown out into the press on a morning, he's been sacked. There may be more to it. Who knows what
we don't know what goes on behind closed doors.
Exactly that.
One of the things in the statement was they very much express the idea that, like, we're moving in the wrong direction, we've got rid of him because we want to move in the right direction. And it's like, I think that's just maybe because of the shock of where they are in the table this season. It's not as much as, you know, you don't see other teams around that half of the table who are just sacking managers left, right and centre at this point in the season, but they seem to be in an area of shock at the moment. It's not.
What is the right direction for a team like that? Is it just performing every week and winning every week? I don't get what is the right direction, because you look at the previous coaches as well, and Brian McDermott, he won everything, and he still struggled with that team. With
pretty much the same team. So, like you say, where does the responsibility lie?
It's a tough one, and hopefully that we don't have to go through anything like that, because the good thing about what we've got at the moment is stability, and I think that's massively important. Simon Wolford is a great coach, and I think he's sort of, you know, using this as a transition period himself to get the players he wants, because he was left with an inherited team last year. But again, the responsibility does have to fall back on coaches and also players, but there's not enough emphasis on the players underperforming for me. And that's what's happened with Leeds. And then it's almost, how can we sort of just draw a line under this? Get rid of the coach. That's how it seems.
Move on.
Move on.
It's a quick solution, isn't it? You know, I suppose, because you can't sack the entire team, can you?
You've got to have a scapegoat. I think that's what they've maybe thought themselves. You know, if they've not got a player to blame, they can't get rid of them.
The problem comes when, you know, if you're on a long losing run, you know, a team like Leeds, you know, will rely on. Like any team in Super League, we rely on the fans coming through the gate, and if you're on a long losing run, the fans, you know, decide not to come. You know, that's.
Let's be honest, we've seen that, haven't we?
Yeah, of course
we have really struggled for the last few years, and it's really frustrating for us, and we're really passionate about what we do. We're doing everything we can, or we believe we can, or we're within our limits and restrictions to bring people in. If the team aren't performing,
they're not going to come.
Ultimately, the fans don't turn up.
Not
as many. Sorry, I don't mean to be unfair on the fans.
No.
But a lot will not come, especially the neutral ones or the ones that are making decisions. Our loyal fans, they'll always be here, and we love that, and we always expect that from them, because we know we'll get that, because they're amazing.
And you'll always get the bigger crowds at the bigger games against, you know, what you would describe as the big clubs that won't go into. We think those are, but you know, it's the games like your London Broncos, your Catalans, where your tendencies will struggle if you're not on a particularly good run, and perhaps that's why Leeds thought they might have needed to make the change. They might have seen crowds dropping because of the results, and have decided that to get fans back they need to make some sort of change, and I think that's the biggest statement you can make.
Speaking about results and teams now, I may as well move on to our last game now. Review the Huddersfield 25, Wakefield 26 result, which is a very hard one to take, I think, for
tough
everybody
one
here.
to take, wasn't it?
Yeah,
really tough.
Do you know, I'm getting so frustrated with it as well because there's such tight games. Against Wakefield as
two
well.
games where we should have beat Wakefield. We should have beat them at their spot, and we should have beaten here. For whatever reason we didn't.
I mean,
tough one to take.
I mean, you can't say that, having watched this team, they can challenge those teams. It's not a case of we're getting mauled over by clubs towards the top. We're challenging them. We should be winning them occasionally. It's not.
We've shown against we can compete with the tougher teams. The likes of Warrington, Saints. We competed with Saints for 60 minutes, and unfortunately the steamrollers in the last 20. I thought but it's just one of those things. I think against Wakefield, typically I don't know why, but we seem to get away to a slow start, and that really, and you're always chasing the game, aren't you? I mean, you know miles more about the game than I do. I just shout stuff out over a microphone. But that from my point of view, it does seem that we get away to a slow start, and we're always chasing the game, and I think that affects us.
I totally agree with you. It does. It's really difficult. I think the emphasis normally is in the first 5 sets of the game. You make sure at 100 mile an hour that you control the ball, you don't make any mistakes. And unfortunately for us, and lately I've seen more mistakes than I've ever seen. Really simple ones, like ridiculous ones, and whether that's lack of confidence or just lack of concentration, I'm not entirely sure. And I don't like to pick people out, but I felt sorry for this kid, and I call him a kid because he's young, and not so much just young in age, just young in position. Darnell McIntosh has been absolutely brilliant for us.
He's been outstanding for us this season. I totally agree with. I think I know what you're going to say. I think I totally agree.
He's an outstanding player. He's learnt so much, and this year been a standout player for us. I think against Wakefield, he had a few things go wrong for him in the game. A few mistakes which are uncharacteristic. I don't think he'd make them again, and it is a learning curve. And I saw him after, and he was absolutely devastated. Genuinely devastated.
We waited outside the changing room for interviews, and apparently the mood in there was not as like you said, devastated.
And you take it personally, and as a player, he'll look and he'll be awake all night reliving each one of those mistakes. He doesn't mean to do them. He's 100% committed. He does everything he possibly can. He's going to be a great player for us. It'll only make him stronger, and I genuinely mean that and believe it. Unfortunately, it wasn't his night, but we still only lost by a point. But I'd have to say we were in a position to win that game regardless. As the time is going on outside,
that'll be an interesting noise.
We've got safety announcement there in the John Smith Stadium, and it wasn't me for a change.
But we were in a position to win that game, and I think our management skills are not very good at the moment, especially without Gaskell. I do believe he's our leader in the sense that he controls the game. Love other players to step up, but we was in a position to win that game with only a few minutes left, and we blew it. And this is the issue. We did enough to win that game,
absolutely.
Even right to the end with a load of mistakes. We are competing,
so we are good enough. It's just
without a doubt, absolutely. And
competing from minute 1 to the 80th.
That's it. It's tough. It is tough, but you will have these mistakes in games. It's how you adapt. It's how you respond to them. Everyone makes a mistake.
I just don't think it's you get a lot of reactions from fans, and there's panic stations. We need to do this. We need to do that. It's a long season, and we've got to remember that we are only a few points away from those playoff positions. So I just don't think we need to put 2 or 3 good wins together to get ourselves in that position. And I 100% believe that we've got the coaching staff and that we've got the playing personnel to be able to do that, because I don't think there's anybody that's in that dressing room that hasn't got the ability to perform well, on any given day.
I'd agree with that, and I think we talk about ability of players. We've been playing without at least 7 or 8, 9 players throughout the whole of the season.
Yeah.
We started this campaign with about 8 or 9 injured players.
Yeah.
That in itself is very difficult, and the likes of Leroy, and some people kind of forget about what Leroy does for us and what he adds,
sure,
and what he adds to Jermaine's game.
Yeah.
I can't wait for him to get back, because he, hopefully when he gets back, and Dale Ferguson's not far off as well. Paul Clough's only been back for a couple of games. The massive names in our team.
Well, I mean,
have so much ability.
Somebody who hasn't been a massive name but started off the season really well, and I think we've missed, is Adam Wall. I think he had a really good start to the season. In a forward pack that. We
lack size, don't we?
We lack size
and aggression.
And I think...
And he gives you that.
Yeah, exactly.
In abundance.
Yeah.
He's very raw, he makes mistakes, and sometimes gets a bit lost. But he's a little bit like Matt English in the sense that he's aggressive, and he will take no nonsense. He'll run forward, he'll run hard all day long.
But he's also a bit bigger than Matty as well.
He is, and that's the difference. And sometimes, and you get very nervous about playing 2 big guys together, and a lot of coaches say, Nathan Brown used to say that all the time, you never want 2 massive guys together because you can get caught out.
Yeah.
But they complement each other.
How do you get caught out playing 2 massive guys? What, just a bit slower, or?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And the catch and mark is in what you do is, if you're off position, you have 2 massive guys in the middle of the field, you target them. So you'd run at them all day, tie them out. And the good thing is what Wakey do with Fafita, they'll have him, but they'll have like Tio Aroda or something like that, who's a little bit short, who's got a bit more mobility.
Did his ACL, by the way, on Friday night.
But he's been brilliant for them as well. So you got those 2 in the middle of the field, you target them, you run at them, you tie them out. So in an offence, they're nowhere near as good. Yeah. And that's how you target 2 big players. But when you've got 1 bigger and 1 smaller, it's a lot harder to do that, and that's why they do it. So you don't get caught out around the rucks by quick people like Cruz Lehman, for instance, Adam O'Brien, when they're sharp and nippy around the ruck. And that's why you try not to, if possible, play 2 big guys. But you do need a big guy. So at the moment we're playing a lot of small guys, and
we could do with a big guy out there.
Just not so much break tackles all the time, but attract numbers into the ruck. So for instance, when I played, a lot of time I'd track 4 people. So when I get down and play the ball, that means 2 people are peeling off and running back to the line. That means their line has to condense, get all these gaps somewhere. We don't have much of that at the moment. We could do with someone just has a bit more size about them. That's what Kumatai's probably doing there at the moment. But I don't like him in front row. I like him a bit wider as a strike weapon. I do need another.
But he's also
a bit more athletic, isn't he? Than
I was going to say, he's built on his own though. Like you said, you need at least 1 big guy in there. And one other name actually I wanted to mention before we pass over it is Alex Mellor, and how good that he's been. What he's done for me, and watching in that last game, I thought he was one of the standout players for me personally. And I think he's 4th in terms of tackles made in the league. It's someone like that is able to stop, but you need more than just that, I think.
Of course, I think he's one of those strike weapons that we talk about, and that's what I like when he's on the edge, because he's a good line runner. He's an absolute brilliant line runner. Hits good holes, scores tries, and as you say, he's made a lot of tackles, but he has toughened up, I think, in the last couple of years. And I don't think that's just mentally he's become a lot tougher. I think it's coming with age, it's coming with playing more Super League games. Physically and mentally, that naturally, as you get older and develop, it makes you a stronger person. He's only going to get better and better.
It's funny, going back to sort of the big prop forwards, because I once asked Paul Anderson, obviously ex-Huddersfield coach and Great Britain prop forward, who was the person that, I suppose he most feared on a rugby field, thinking he might say Adrian Morley, Jamie Peacock, somebody like that. And he said Rob Burrow. And I said, Rob Burrow, really? He said, yeah. I said, why? He said, well, because if I went in on him, if I was committed and went in on him, it was always an eye tackle. And if I wasn't as committed, he'd just run rings around there.
Yeah. He used to duck as well, which made it even worse. He was only 3 foot tall anyway. And then he'd duck and you couldn't get anywhere near him. So as you went to tackle and you put your arms out, he'd duck straight into it and he'd give it was a high tackle every time. So that's what he means. It was an absolute nightmare.
It's always a high tackle.
But Blue liked his big guys as well, because he tried to, at one point, I remember when, in fact, I played 80 minutes the year before, absolutely flying. He took over and he said, right, Earl, I don't want you to play as many minutes anymore. We're going to go back to putting some more size on you. I want you to get bigger, stronger, and you'll only play like 15, 20 minutes at a time. Like, fair enough. He goes, I want us to be like the Bradford Bulls of the old days.
The awesome foursome.
But alright, I totally get that. That's absolutely fine. So I went through the whole of pre-season. I was stronger than I'd ever been in my life. Honestly, I was lifting absolutely everything. Doing all this fast sort of stuff off the mark because I was getting bigger. And thought, right, raring to go. Set off in the first game, got the ball, took the ball in, ripped in, about a couple of people off. I got, a few people jumped on me. I stood up and I just went, I couldn't breathe. I literally could not breathe. And about 3 weeks later, after a few games, he called me into office and went, Earl, you're just not moving around the pitch fast enough. You're going to have to lose some weight. I was like, you're kidding me? You told me. And you told me what he wanted from me for like full pre-season. Then suddenly I needed to lose weight. And I was absolutely gutted.
Yeah.
It's quite funny though. That's what the impact coaches have on you as well. Because that side of it, they have to decide what sort of team they want.
And then you put your trust in them.
And you do. Yeah. Exactly. And this is another reason why coaches also have to take responsibility for when things don't go well.
I mean, we are digressing a bit from the game on Friday night, but you're talking about big packs. You were part of the biggest pack in Super League at one point, which was yourself, Wayne McDonald, John Gratian, and who else would it have been at that time? Paul Jackson,
Andy Raleigh. He was another 6'4" player.
Yeah,
we're absolutely huge. We probably had too many big guys, to be fair. But do you know what? It gave you confidence though going into games, and I love them, that team.
Is it true you had a combined height of the tower at Castle Hill?
I think it was half inch short.
But just that bit more punch in the pack. Might be able to help us out with Adam Wall. So Friday night was a tough one to take.
And moving swiftly on to our next game, like you said, you got to 2 Challenge Cup finals yourself, playing on Sunday afternoon against St Helens, who are undoubtedly probably the best team in the country at this moment in time. It's going to be a tough one. What are we thinking about that?
Personally, what I'm thinking about is, wow, what a game.
Yeah.
And what an opportunity for fans in Huddersfield to come down and watch.
Yeah.
£10. What can you buy for £10 these days? I bet you can't buy a bottle of your gin for £10, can you?
You can buy a third of it.
Listen, you can't buy much for £10, but £10 to come and watch, potentially the best team in Super League at the minute, against your hometown club in the first round of the Challenge Cup at Huddersfield.
Yeah.
What a great opportunity for fans to come down and watch that game.
It is, and you look at that Saints team, and they're absolutely flying at the moment.
Yeah.
They are fantastic. They are a good team. They've got some great forwards as well. But it makes no difference. I know it's a cliche, but any given Sunday, you can win. Any team could win on the day. Huddersfield just need to compete for longer, not make those mistakes and control certain players on the field, especially the likes of Alex Walmsley, who is a big unit, who's smashing it, and the likes of also Regan Grace, who's absolutely rapid. I want to say he's the most skillful player in the world. You give him some space and he will score for fun. But we've been in these positions before, including me in 2006 when we went to Twickenham to play Saints. Actually, we beat Leeds in the semi-final.
I remember I was there. It was at
Odsall.
Yeah, it was at Odsall.
No one expected that.
No
one thought we'd win that. No one gave us a chance. And that for me is the biggest game and best game I've ever played, in the sense that we got a massive reward off the back of that for going out and beating one of the best teams in the league. No one expected us to win. So that, for me, is what will happen this weekend. No one expects it. So why the heck not?
I think it's always good to win as underdogs. Just takes that pressure off you. Like Earl says, nobody's expecting us to win, probably. I am.
Well, why not?
Certainly
Why
because
not?
I think like Earl says, I think we can do it. It's the magic of the cup.
Yeah, of course.
You know, if you know we've been to the final twice in the past few years. You know, so I don't see why we can't get there again. And you know, if we beat St Helens in the first game, wow, what a start that would be to the campaign. What hope that would give you. You know, for the rest of the campaign, and you know, I think it's important that fans get down and back us at this game, because if we get to that final, if we beat St Helens in our first game, we've certainly got a real chance. So if we get to that final, I'm sure, you know, you would have wanted to have been at that first game.
Of course, yeah.
For the sake of a tenner on a Sunday night, what else are you going to do? Get your tickets now, folks.
So yeah, Wembley, there you go. Right?
Wembley, there we go. Yeah.
And only other thing I wanted to talk about really was there's one other game in the Challenge Cup that I could highlight as a potential upset or a big game is it Wakefield against Widnes on the Sunday, I think that is, and it's for me Widnes, who are playing, you know, they've had the downside of having the deduction of the points, and they're one of the best teams in that league.
Championship, you know.
They're one of the best teams in that league, and I think they could potentially see an upset there if Wakefield aren't careful.
Potentially, yeah. Like I said, it's the magic of the cup, and you know yourself. You know, you go out on that paddock on a like you say, any given Sunday, and you've got to back yourself, and anybody can beat anybody on the day. I mean, is it only last year that Swinton came here and beat us in the cup, or was it the year before? I can't remember. Was Swinton heavily favoured that day?
2 years ago.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know, but they came here and they 1-17 did the job that day and did a job on us. So I don't see why Widnes can't beat Wakefield, but more importantly, I don't see why Huddersfield can't beat Saints. Just for a tenner, folks. So
much is it again?
Just £10.
£10. Yeah, £10. And it's something like Nathan Brown used to speak about years ago, and it's something that always stuck with me. And he used to say to us as a team, we don't need you all to go out there and have blinders. You don't all have to go out there and have the best game of your life, because I need you all to play 7 out of 10. Because that's all I need from you every week. 7 out of 10 every single week. Yeah. And naturally, a couple of players will step up. And they will win the game for us. Something will happen and they will score a try or create an offload, 2 or 3 players, and they'll get that 8 or 9 or even a 10 out of 10 game. Everyone else, I need you at 7. But if you drop below that, that's when we have issues. And that's what happens in games. Too many times in the Giants team, we'll have a few players that are playing maybe about 6 or 7, but we're not having many players that step up. What we're having is players that drop down. We'll have like a 4 or a 3. You can't carry players through teams. No. You don't have to do anything special. You just need to play at that consistent level of like a 7 out of 10. And if people go into a game, and Saints will do it the same, because they're all human. Everyone's human. We all make mistakes. If they just have a few players that drop off, and we still remain the same and keep consistent, and a couple step up, we win that game. That's rugby league.
I think you're 100% right, and I think that's the good thing about having the pressure taken off you. You know, sometimes having that pressure on you can, like, you know, force errors, make you make mistakes, whatever. If you're playing without any pressure on you, whatever, you know, maybe the game flows a little bit better, and hopefully that's what'll happen.
But results this season have been, in the league as well, in general, for all teams, have been so volatile. You can't, like, London Broncos started so well in the season, and now they're holding up the table now, and it's.
I think there's sometimes a bit of camaraderie that will get you through. You know, it happened a few years ago with Widnes. It happened a few years ago with Salford. Both teams started in different years. Both teams started off to a flyer. I think Widnes won something like 8 on the bounce, and were never expected to beat anybody, and won 8 on the bounce, like London. You know, London got.
Leeds Centurions did the same. Leeds Centurions got absolutely battered us at their place and ended up getting relegated.
And I then think sometimes, you know, rugby league's a difficult game.
Yeah, of course.
And sometimes the season takes its toll on you, and you'll lose a few players. And you know, Saints, Warrington, maybe Leeds back in the day could cope with losing those players, whereas maybe your Widnesses, your Salfords, your
It's the intensity.
can't do that, can
it's
they?
performing at that level week in, week out. Everyone can step up for a game, or 2 games, or 3 games, but like you say, when a few of these players start picking up little knocks, and then they've got to rise to that level again the week after, something they're not used to, they can't do it. This is why the best teams, they win games week in, week out, because they can perform at that elite level for longer periods than anybody else. And if you've got more players to do that with, the easier it is. That's why Saints, Warrington now as well, who are picking up some quality players, and Blake Austin is the standout player in the league. It's unbelievable. And these sort of players, they make the difference. They're your 9 or 10 players. So hopefully, we need to remain consistent and have that intensity level, but the likes of London will struggle to maintain it just because of the squad strength and also the players that they've got. They're not used to, or they're probably not the same calibre as the ones higher up the league.
Of course not.
And that, like I said, that camaraderie will carry you through. So who's your standout man? Who do we need to close down Sunday night?
Sunday night, I think there's obviously some good players in that team, but the one that stands out for me, just because he's a mate of mine as well, and I've already spoke about him, he's an absolute massive unit, Alex Walmsley. He is walking through people at the moment. I saw him against Catalan about a week ago. And I thought he was just watching the same carry over and over again, and there was like subtle differences, and the only reason it was very similar is because he was making 40-50 metres off the back of it, and then suddenly he offloaded. I'm like, this is somehow he's just stepped up to another level. If you let him get on the front foot, and this is what we talk about, some big guys in the game, you need to get bodies in front of him, slow him down. He's not skillful as in the sense he doesn't pass the ball that much, he can offload a bit, but it's his running game. He ramps up and he just walks over people, so we need to nullify that effect. And off the back of that, if you can stop the players like him, it stops the likes of like your dummy house runners, so your Robies, because it slows the ruck down. It means our defensive line gets back on side quick enough to be able to get back.
What a man he is! He's like a fine wine. He just seems to get better every year.
Yeah, he's,
as he gets older, which is unheard of, isn't it?
It's absolutely, for what he does and puts his body through as well. I just can't believe he's continuing. He's a freak. I don't think you'll see many players like him anymore.
No.
Alright, have anybody else got anything they want to add before we start wrapping things up, really?
No,
you want to promote the tickets again, maybe?
Oh, did I not mention it? Did I mention it?
I don't think you did.
Tickets for Sunday night, £10. Get them now, because they do change. They will change on the day, so make sure you pre-buy to get them for £10. What a fantastic offer. But yeah, any feedback on the podcast, anything you'd like to see on here, or here, even, as soon as it's a podcast.
Or anybody.
Anybody, any information you want, any quizzes, anything like that, let us know. This is our first time. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to offer you some great interviews and some great features in future.
Yeah. So thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.